The biggest outcome of the World War I was the Russian Revolution. A striking feature of 19th century was that Europe emerged as the dominant power. In 1902, Japan entered into an alliance with England and demanded that Russia should withdraw its troops from Manchuria. Tsar Nicholas II of Russia suggested to the powers that they meet together to bring about an era of universal peace. At the Battle of Marne in 1914, the French succeeded in pushing back the Germans. In the Eastern Front, Russian troops repeatedly defeated the Austrians. Wilson was the American president when USA declared war against Germany in 1917. Lenin was influenced by the ideas of Karl Marx. In 1861, Tsar Alexander II abolished serfdom and emancipated the serfs. On 23 February 1917, the Socialists celebrated International Working Women's Day. Pravda was the official newspaper of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1918 to 1991. In March 1918, the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk was signed. In 1931, Japan attacked Manchuria. In December 1939, Russia was expelled from the League of Nations for her attack on Finland. In the Russo-Japanese War, Japan defeated Russia and got back Port Arthur. Within Europe, England positioned as the world leader of capitalism. By 1880, most of the Asian countries had been colonized. In imperialistic aggressions, also Japan followed the Europe. The crushing defeat of China in the Sino-Japanese War surprised the world. After 1905, Japan took control of Korean domestic and foreign policy. Turkey was a powerful country in the southwest of Europe in the first half of the 18th century. The Balkan League was formed in the year 1912. The Second Balkan War ended with the sinking of the Treaty of Bucharest. The German violation of Belgian neutrality forced Britain to enter World War I. Romania watched the course of the war and in August 1916 joined the Allies. Germany ultimately surrendered in November 1918. As per the Peace Treaty of 1919, Alsace-Lorraine was returned to France. America emerged as the moneylender to the world in the aftermath of the World War I. On 8 November 1917, a new communist government was in office in Russia. USA was not a member of the League of Nations. The League of Nations was dissolved in 1946. Capitalism inevitably led to imperialism. The industrial achievements of Germany gave her a dominating position in Europe in the latter half of the 19th century. The period from 1867 to 1912 is known as Meiji era. By 1900, practically the whole of Africa was colonized. Britain, France, Russia and Germany also established spheres of influence in China. Armenian genocide is a frightful example of the massacre of the Balkan Wars. Romania and Greece declared war on the Central Powers in 1916 and 1917 respectively. Two peace conferences were held in Holland in 1899 and 1907, The Hague. In 1914, Russia suffered heavy losses in the Battle of Tannenberg. The Battle of Marne is a memorable one for French warfare. Between February and July 1916, the Germans attacked Verdun, the famous fortress in the French line. The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk was signed on 3rd March 1918. German submarines were extremely effective. In the Far East, Japan was able to capture the province of Kyachou given by the Germans to China in Shantung. In 1916, a naval battle of Jutland had taken place in the North Sea. Emden was the famous cruiser which bombed Madras in 1914. Lusitania, an American ship, was torpedoed by a German submarine in 1917. On 28 June 1919, the peace treaty was signed in the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles. The World War I gave a great fillip to the women's movement in the West and the East. In Russia, Peter the Great and Catherine II westernization without changing the social attempted conditions. Lenin gained the support of a small majority known as Bolsheviks. Opponents of Lenin in minority were called Mensheviks. Tsar Nicholas II of Romanov dynasty had little experience of government. On 23 January 1902, Father Gapon, a priest, organized a march of men, women and children in St. Petersburg. The parliament established by Nicholas was called the Duma. In 1916, Rasputin, who had a domineering influence over the Tsar and the Tsarina, was murdered. During the popular uprisings in 1917, Petrograd was the capital of the Russian Empire. The Russian Communist Party could eliminate poverty and illiteracy in Russia within a record time. Pravda is a Russian word meaning truth. The Secretariat of the League of Nations was located at Geneva. The International Court of Justice was set up in The Hague. In October 1932, Hitler withdrew Germany from the conference and the League. National rivalry led to frequent clashes between these great powers in Asia, Africa and Europe. Cecil Rhodes was the imperialist Prime Minister of South Africa. Japan entered into an alliance with England in 1902. After the Russo-Japanese War, Japan entered the charmed circle of the great powers. Under the guidance of Bismarck, they had formed the Triple Alliance in 1882. The Anglo-Japanese alliance resulted in the Entente Cordiale in 1904. France and Germany were old rivals. Kaiser Wilhelm II intentionally recognized the independence of the Sultan of Morocco. The Ottoman Empire extended over the Balkans and across Hungary to Poland. The Armenian genocide is a frightful example of the atrocity of the Balkan Wars. Turkey was reduced to the area around Constantinople. The climax to these events in the Balkans occurred in Sarajevo in Bosnia. Franz Ferdinand was the heir to Franz Joseph, Emperor of Austria-Hungary. France and Italy signed the Secret Treaty of London in April 1915. In the war in Western Front, within a month Paris seemed almost doomed. In 1917, the Tsarist regime in Russia was overthrown in a revolution. In the war in the Middle East, Turks tried to attack Suez Canal but were repulsed. President Wilson declared war against Germany in April 1917. All German colonies became mandated territories under the League of Nations. The war conditions led to the rise of Home Rule movement in India. On the abdication of the Tsar, the Borgios government which followed wanted to continue the war. Nicholas II encouraged Russian expansion in Manchuria. 22 January 1905 is known as Bloody Sunday in Russian Revolution. The Tamil poet Bharatiyar welcomed the Russian Revolution by the poem. Kerensky became Prime Minister, leading a new coalition of liberals and moderate socialists. The Bolshevik Party was renamed the Russian Communist Party. The first Secretary General of the League of Nations was Sir Eric Durmond. The principle of collective security could not be applied in actual practice.